All right, here's a copy of the homework that I just handed you, and I'm just going to do a few problems to familiarize you with I'm expecting you to know how to do. So we start with recognizing in number one that here's a segment. So here's an endpoint of a segment right here, and here's another endpoint of the segment. And I'm just going to go ahead and count over on the x-axis and the y-axis in order to find um, what the coordinates of those points are. So the first one on the upper left there, notice you'll go to the left, -1, and so that's going to be an x coordinate of -1, and a y coordinate of, if you count up from the x-axis, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we got 4 is one of my coordinates, um, or ordered pair. So here, and now we're going to go to the right, and on the right hand side there, we went to the right 4. So we're going to say 4, and we went down 4, so that's -4. And so there's the ordered pair with the coordinates of the second point. So now we're going to find the midpoint. So we have to remind ourselves of what the midpoint formula is. So let's go ahead and just write that formula. And the formula is x1 plus x2 over 2, comma, y1 plus y2 over 2. So there that is. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign what is x1 and x2. So this is x1, and that makes this one x2. And that makes this y1 and y2. And so let's just go ahead and start to work those. So x1 is -1. So we're going to say -1 plus 4 divided by 2 is that first part there. And then y1, which is 4, plus -4 over 2, like that. So now we have -1 plus 4 is 3, so that first part becomes 3 over 2. And the second part is 4 plus -4 is 0. So we'll call that 0 over 2, but then we'll write it one more time to just show what it is. So we've got 3 halves, comma, 0 is my midpoint according to um, that calculation. So if we go to the right 3 halves, which is 1.5, I'll put a point right there, and 0 up or down, that is my midpoint right there. So being that that's the midpoint, it is the same distance then from there to there as it is from here to there. And that's the same, that's the exact middle of that segment. Okay? If we keep on going here and go down to the bottom, notice that these are just coordinates and ordered pairs. And so we could just label them x1, y1, x2, y2, and use the midpoint formula. So this is just going to be 8 plus 7 over 2, comma, -2 plus -5 over 2. And that's going to be finding your midpoint once you do the math on that. So you know how to do that. I think what I'll do is I'll go over to number 12 here because that one looks a little bit more interesting. But we're going to remind ourselves of the distance formula. So the distance formula is the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. And so that's the whole formula right there. So once again, we have to find the coordinates of our points. So I'll take that upper right one first. That's located at 0, 3. Because I went neither to the left nor to the right, so I got 0. And I went up 3, so there's 0, 3. On this other one, we're going to the left 3 and then down 2. So that's going to be -3, comma, -2. And so there's those points right there. So now let's go ahead and assign what those are. I'm going to call this one my x1, and I'm going to call this one my y1, and I'm going to call this one my x2 and my y2. So now let's just load the formula. Distance formula says square root, and we're going to say x2, which is -3, minus 0 squared plus, and then y2 is -2, and we're going to subtract 3 from there and get 2. So this becomes -3 squared plus -5 squared, and that ends up being negative times negative is positive, so that turns that into 9, plus negative times negative is positive, so this turns into 25. And so when we add those together, I have the square root of 9 plus 25 is 34, the square root of 34. Now, 34, yeah, it's even, but it's 17 times 2. And neither of those is a perfect square, so we can just pretty much say that the answer is distance is the square root of 34. And that's an exact form, and that's simplified because it can't simplify down any further, and so there's the answer. Okay, so that's how that one's done. And then these right here are just pairs of points. You already have those, and so all you have to do is call this x1 and y1 and x2 and y2. So there's an example of how to do the problems in this homework. Good luck. If you have questions, go ahead and just send me an email or send me a message in Google Classroom and say that you need some help on this. Okay? And good luck, and we'll talk to you soon.